by Helena Blavatsky. This was originally written in 1892, although this one is from 1973, so nothing major here. This is the preface. This is literally just a dictionary of theosophical terms.
Oh my God, I read TikTok's terms of service. We collect certain information about the device you use to access the platform, such as your IP address, user region, mobile carrier, model of your device, network type, screen resolution and operating system, app and file names and type, keystroke patterns or rhythm, audio settings and connected audio devices where you log in from multiple devices. We will be able to use your profile information to identify your activity across devices.
It's insane. My question would be, do you think they did that? They created TikTok just on purpose to have all that?
100%.
Wow. One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did? Cleanse?
President Trump is, of course, under investigation in several criminal matters. But let me tell you how the only way that this one could have come about. In order for a former president to be the subject of a search warrant, a number of things must happen. First, the Attorney General himself, in this case, Merrick Garland, the sitting U.S. Attorney General, would have to approve the application for a search warrant. And then a federal prosecutor and 2 FBI agents, 2 as a minimum, would have to appear before a federal judge. In this case, it is probably a federal judge sitting in what's known as the Southern District of Florida, headquartered in Miami. The FBI agents would then have to explain under oath in a private secret meeting with the federal judge, with the judge's staff there and with the federal prosecutor there, but with no one there from the former president's side. This is the way search warrants work. And the FBI agents would have to demonstrate to a federal judge probable cause. That means that it is more likely than not that the place to be searched or the thing to be seized was evidence of a federal crime. And if these FBI agents failed to persuade the federal judge that whatever they wanted to take from former President Trump's home was...
When you're at the top, darling, of course you'll be the topic. When you are the head, you'll be the headlines. When they talk behind your back, well, that's because they are behind you.
Did you know? It says the human heart's magnetic field can be measured several feet away from the body. So it's even saying that you have a magnetic field that's coming from your heart, that's literally surrounding your body, and it builds up a protective shield. Y'all can look this stuff up, but we finna dive deep into the science of these things. Y'all see that? Check this out. Negative emotions can create nervous system chaos, but positive emotions, remember, emotion stands for the E stands for energy. Motion means movement or vibration. So energy or energetic vibrations is emotions. Vibration is, again, sound waves. It says negative energy vibration or energy emotion can create nervous system chaos, but positive energy emotions or energy vibrational frequencies do the exact opposite. Positive emotions can increase the brain's ability to
Salagadoola, metricaboola, bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Masked crusaders working overtime, fighting crime, secret raiders who will neutralize.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
They've just developed the first DNA hard drive Microsoft has. 1 gram of DNA can store 433 petabytes of data. So they've created a digital DNA hard drive. So now we have the capability of transferring consciousness into a storage capacity. We can literally take a skin cell from your body, create a clone of you up to whatever age specified, and then transfer your consciousness from your body, your mind, into that new avatar.
If you can hear this, you are not alone. This is the resistance. You are not alone. This is the resistance. You are not alone. This is the resistance.
Now you don't know it yet, but you are listening to History in the Making while you are listening to this show.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, yet as mortal as his own.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of The Rundown Live, Kriston T. Harris.
Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. We are here live on KGRA radio, live out of the studio here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, bringing you the latest news and information on what's happening in the world with our lovely co-host here. We're here with Don Vi Jr., and boy, he's normally on the other side of me, but today it seems like, I'm here on the left-hand side of the screen, and I had to adjust there for a second, Don. There's a lot going on. Leftists, ultra deep leftists, extremists on the left are very exciting. I've never seen so very excited TikToks where people's hairs are flopping like they're Donald Trump themselves, and very excited about this news that the FBI raided Donald Trump. But we predicted this. We talked about how there's this whole Bolshevik style attack on political adversaries. And this is, I'm just telling you, just surprising me, not really, that all the elections and primaries in Wisconsin that are happening today, and there's very significant ones across the United States, the Trump endorsed candidates are sweeping. 188 Trump candidates, endorsed candidates, have won in the primaries, and only 11 have lost. And today there's more primary elections, and it comes out that none other than Donald Trump's Mar-A-Lago was raided while he was golfing. He was just hitting that ball around and just putting away and doing what the orange man does and presidents do when they get retired. And the left really hate the mean tweeter. They hate the left mean tweeter so much that they love to indulge in their conspiracies. Like, I gotta tell you right now, I'm really frustrated with leftists, because leftists are always like, oh, you're a conspiratard, you're a conspiracy theorist. Why can't I, like in Quora, there's so many people that ask the question, how do I deprogram a conspiracy theorist? It's always an ultra leftist. And the crazy thing to me is they love their own conspiracies, like insurrection and Russian collusion. And it's like they're deep throating the boot on January 6th. They're like, yeah, actually, Babbitt got shot. Get that down my throat. I love government. You know what the root truth is about ultra leftists, Don, that I just realized is that they really pretend like they don't like cops, but in reality, they just want to be the cops. That's it. They want to tell you what you're doing because they are loving this right now. They're eating up what's happened to Alex Jones. We're going to dive into that. And what is the future of InfoWars and Band.video and the independent media? Because they said in the trial, right? Watch the trial. They said that he is patient zero to go after anyone like him because they hate the independent media so much. We take away revenue from them. It's no secret that we've obtained 15, 20, 30, 40 million views. The New York Times wrote a hit piece about me. The New Yorker has written a hit piece about me even before I was really acquainted with Band.video. And here we are today. We're telling you we are standing with our fellow independent journalists because it's you guys who get to decide what is true and what is not for yourself. And they are trying to censor people. But I want to tie this back in. This is all the domino effect. What we saw happen with Alex Jones was just the start, and what we're starting to see here at Trump is literally what I was telling you about, that ultra-commie style Bolshevik political adversary plot, and it's being laid out and it's being used just like it was in Russia in the Soviet era.
Right. Yeah, it is. They do seem like, it's just the authoritarian mindset on, regardless of which side of the political spectrum you look at, just the authoritarian mindset of wanting to control people. But with regard to this Trump raid, I actually was, I was thinking about it last night, and I wrote down some things, some talking points that I wanted to hit on because, all I'm seeing right now is more reinforcement of the left-right partisan BS in the mainstream media because they love it. They love to divide and conquer people. So I wrote down a few things that I wanted to just briefly mention because sometimes, when we're on air, as some people may have noticed, my ADHD kicks in. Yeah, my ADHD
it's busy. There's a lot going on. We got the producer in one ear. You got Kristan T. Harris in another. It gets busy. But let's pull this up. Let's pull up your article here if you can, and let's talk about this because I got live video of the raid last night and people outside of it as well. But it literally, the president was not happy about it. Naturally, who's happy when they get raided by the cops? But what kind of substantial evidence and information would be required in order for them to do this? They have to get a judge's approval. They need 2 feds to go in there, and they have to have, pretty much 100% guaranteed that what they are looking for is there. So I don't even know what they were looking for. All I know is classified documents. Did they get the classified documents? And why is it that they wanted those classified documents? Maybe for all we know, they could be on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's relationship with Ukraine. We don't really know what they are. All we know is that his Mar-A-Lago got raided. So what do you got for us here, Don? Bring it up on screen.
Right. Well, it's not an article. It's just some personal notes I wrote down just so I wouldn't forget anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to ramble on and get out the things that I thought of last night because I was sitting there on the couch. I was mulling it over. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I was thinking about, what's the left going to say? What's the right going to say? And then let's cut through the BS and try to objectively take a pragmatic look at things that are going on. So, the first thing I wanted to get out of the way is that I really couldn't care less that it happened to Trump. The only part that I do care about is that how they're going to later spin the narrative to manipulate the narrative and go after regular Americans. But there's also this false equivalency being created here too, and I think that's a big part of the bigger picture of what's going on. Because, I wouldn't, and nobody really should care if it happened to the Clintons. They wouldn't care if it happened to the Bushes, Obama, nor Trump. But the well-being of average Americans is what's actually important. Now, let me go into a little detail here. Now, in my view, this happened for 2 reasons, and it's the same 2 reasons that fueled the pseudo resistance. The left was resist, but we're going to deep throat the boot anyway. The pseudo resistance of the last 6 years. Firstly, it has to be remembered that Trump is a ruling class oligarch. And I know that still pisses some people off when I confront them with that ugly truth, but of course he is. He's a cutthroat billionaire corporatist con man, and we could sit here for an hour and label off the dozens of examples as to how he's a fraud and compromised or did the bidding of the deep state that he was supposedly put in place to destroy, either by embracing and bowing down to Israel and Saudi Arabia, betraying Julian Assange, empowering the DHS, shilling for the military-industrial complex, bailing out the banking cartel, or even how he propped up Big Pharma during the so-called pandemic. The list goes on, but I digress. He's absolutely part of the ruling class, but, and this is where the nuance is important, people have to realize there are also different levels to the ruling class. I've said this before, and this is where some of the legitimate disdain they have for him comes from, because the folks in D.C. really do hate him to a degree. And it's because when it comes to the DC elite, Trump isn't in their club. So he's not like some rogue outsider that people pretend he is. But there is genuine dislike for him there because they don't want someone else coming in and muscling in on what's there. So think of it, sort of like a rival gang, another one muscling in on their turf. So both gangs are bad and, neither is better than the other. But they are still going to have beef if one tries to take what belongs to the other. Secondly, however, and I think this is the most important part, is that this is just smoke and mirrors anyway. All of it. Now, because people need to take a look at the partisan bickering between the Republicrats that have been going on for the past few decades. There may be some minute differences, but when it comes to maintaining the establishment status quo, they typically are united. And we saw this even during Trump's administration too, because everybody can probably remember his beef with Nancy Pelosi. Remember how she tore up the speech of his during the State of the Union address, and that's all anybody was talking about. But then behind closed doors, Trump and Pelosi, and then both sides of the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress had no problem working together, hand in hand, skipping through the little field and passing together another bill that was just an egregious violation of our civil rights. And, of course, even, another point to mention, Project Veritas even got CNN's Van Jones to admit on hidden camera that all the Trump hate in the media is just to stoke divide and get ratings. So it's all a charade, and we know this. And just like we know the same is true for the January 6 hearings. It's a huge nothing burger that, we've already covered on this show. But, the raid, a raid like this is exactly what they all need right now, because the midterms are right around the corner. I know this is a little longer winded than I expected it would be, but just a few more points and then I'll let you chime in. But the next thing to think about is to really think about it. I mean, really think about it. This is a great way to keep people in line with the false dichotomy, the whole left-right divide. This is a phony victory that the Democrats can wave around and they can reinforce their supporters. Then on the Republican side, it's another thing that it's a supposed crime by the deep state that they can use to reinforce their backing, and especially Trump's cult-like fan base, and suck the oxygen away from any support for any seemingly legitimate anti-establishment candidate come election time. Because, there's a great example right now in Kentucky. There's actually a candidate running for Congress. His name is Jeff Young. And he's currently running as a Democrat. He previously ran as a Republican in 2020. And some of his main campaign points are stuff like supporting Julian Assange, ending the drug war, anti-imperialism, and non-interventionism, including ending support for the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And he's even called for abolishing the CIA. And believe it or not, this guy's actually really popular. He won the primary for the 6th Congressional District back in May. But then the official, of course, as they would, the official Democrat Party turns around and refused to endorse him. So now it's sort of this weird limbo where he won the thing, but without their endorsement toward the midterms, this campaign is kind of dead in the water. So these are the people that the ruling class want to draw attention away from. That, plus they're hella scared of the Libertarian Party right now since the Mises Caucus took over by a landslide, and folks like Spike Cohen are continuing to grow a massive following. So from a political strategy standpoint, the raid and all the attention and the partisanship that it's going to generate makes perfect sense to me, because they have to do everything they can to reinforce this false dichotomy and maintain the ideological monopoly of the two-party paradigm. So the way I figure it, this is more so big picture stuff. It's not just some snub at Trump. The whole thing is shenanigans. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, he's in on it. He might be, he might not be. I don't know that for sure. But like I said, we've seen him play along with smoke and mirrors before. So it wouldn't be surprising, but they could also have some inner oligarchical rivalry mixed in there too, because like I said, they do have some legitimate disdain for him. But it's all shenanigans is the main point. And that being said, something can also be said about the weaponization and the political stoogery of the FBI and how they're using these Bolshevik tactics, because that's, as I said in the beginning, this is the main issue, is how this is going to be weaponized to go after regular Americans by setting up this false equivalency and be like, oh yeah, we're going after the opposition, when really the opposition is just playing off of each other to, again, reinforce the false dichotomy. And then all the regular Americans who just want to stop being screwed over by the federal government, we're the ones that actually lose.
Well, and what this is really going to do is push the tribalism, like Democrat, Republican. There's no real difference. The only difference I would say is that Donald Trump didn't put Hillary Clinton in jail, which he probably should have. I mean, obviously, look at the way it's going for him now. And Corrupt politicians in general have always been an issue with this country and the world all throughout history, even going back to Greece and Rome. The emperor has no clothes is about the kid who points out that the emperor has no clothes that gets arrested for, pointing out the truth. And that's kind of what I feel in some aspects and shapes and forms happened to Alex Jones, although Alex Jones has his own battle to face with the whole Sandy Hook thing. And I don't disagree entirely that he made some mistakes, but so did the New York Times when they reported weapons of mass destruction, or the Independent when they said 3 African Americans were shot by Kyle Rittenhouse, or The View by saying that certain people are white supremacists when they're not. That's the problem with generalization of terms, how everything is far right and far left, and we're far center. That's what we've always said.
Right.
We're far out is what we are. But
far out,
people
man.
there you go. Cheers. But the issue I'm coming to see with this is the division. This is further dividing us. And this is everything we've always talked about, that Luciferian ideology. It's like the etymology of Democrat, or was it not the democracy? Excuse me, not Democrats, democracy. And that's a demonic leadership and division. And that's what we're getting here. And when it comes down to it, you really look at it, that's a slur. And that's why you hear a lot of leftists say, don't use that term. In fact, leftists don't even like liberals because they founded capitalism. I mean, even Karl Marx admitted that. And so, you get these ideologies out there, and it's all meant to put you in a compartmentalized mentality. You're all supposed to be tribal, and we got major group think going on right now. And that's what we got to ask you guys. What is it that you are thinking about? What's going on in your brain? Because the information you feed yourself is the ideas that you're going to grow. And right now, when I got even before the show, I talked to Don. I'm up. I got a lot of friends who are leftists, but I'm upset with leftists because some of them are just so dumb. But then again, a lot of people on the right are dumb. So I guess we just got dumb people in general that are poorly educated by indoctrination nation, where we're being indoctrinated by oligarchs that are trying to push this globalist ideology and mentality. So that the answer, to a lot of people is like, no government at all. But I'm a realist. That's not possible. In a small, organized, community, I agree, anarchy could work. I believe libertarianism, in my opinion, is a realistic form of government. It's the most limited form of government, allows you to do whatever the hell you want as long as you don't violate anyone else's individual liberties or freedoms. I don't care if you're a commie or a socialist or whatever you want to do in your community, but you shouldn't have to force people to do what they want you to do. And that's what we're hearing now. That's what we're seeing here. Freedom of speech. People going the Alex Jones case. 9 years it took them to come after him. 9 years. Why did you have to wait 9 years to go after Alex Jones? And he didn't even commit the crime. It was other people that went after him. Even me, within a reasonable time, he admitted that his idea that Sandy Hook was not a government orchestrated training reported as a real event. He admitted that he was wrong. And the thing is in the court, if you watch the court session, they denied him the ability for his own defense to take the stand. They denied him the ability to provide evidence. And then when the prosecution went and then said, he didn't provide any evidence. Well, he didn't allow it in the court because, and then they only played chopped up clips and everything else. So, it was wild.
Yeah, it was 100% kangaroo court. And I made that point the other day when I shared news about the ruling on my Facebook page. I said, people need to realize this has zero to do with what Alex Jones may or may not have said about Sandy Hook in 2012, and everything to do with weaponizing the court system and the partisanship of the media to go after the largest anti-establishment voice out there, the largest and the loudest, because we know Alex can be loud when he wants to.
Well, and I'm not saying that he's right all the time, but what I'm saying is this: they literally for years they were saying this is about the families of Sandy Hook. This is all about the families of Sandy Hook. But at the end of the whole event, they said this Alex Jones is ground zero for anyone else that has alternative facts, like what, that GMOs cause cancer. I mean, you can't turn on a TV program without seeing that. What kind of alternative facts are we talking about? Just anyone that is against the government status quo media, that is basically a talking mouthpiece, like the fourth branch of government right now, the media. It's disgusting. Everyone out there should be starting their own blog. But as we know, with AI and algorithms, they're censoring us. They're calling me baby, or the little baby cousin of Alex Jones. And I'm okay with that. I should wear that like a badge of honor because Alex has been right so many times. He hasn't been wrong, and he isn't responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths like the New York Times and weapons of mass destruction, amongst other things. So like, it's just a whole group of things. So my first thing is not so much the whole that, Alex is right or wrong or anything. It's the fact that they're going to use this as a template to go after anyone's freedom of speech. And if you think that you're protected on the left, you better wait till the right conservative gets in there, and then you're going to have the same problem, and you're going to be twisted, and it's going to be very frustrating because this whole ideology of freedom of speech, this whole ideology of Constitution is being dismantled surgically by globalism and foreign interests, multinational corporatists who are funding and these judges to destroy the ideology of America. Now, I get that. Our nation, I talked to my father. Okay, so this weekend I was talking to my father, and he was trying to explain to me. He's like, when a lot of these things that people hate America for, and the people in America for were going on, they were legal. And it doesn't make it right, but the laws weren't saying that it were illegal, and it's not the right mentality, and I don't agree with it. But at the same time, why are we holding people to today's standards for sins that happened 200-300 years when none of us were involved in it? The idea is because they need the guilt, they need the division, and they'll find a way to divide us. And this whole Donald Trump thing, Don, I'm glad you came through with this. You're 100% correct. This is all about divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. If you're supportive of what's happening in this nation politically, look around. There isn't much going out there. I'm telling you, a lot of people don't believe voting works. A lot of people believe that JFK was the last legitimate elected president, and I'm starting to believe it, especially after what we saw. After what was that? Brittany Kaiser was a whistleblower on the Great Hack, where they talk about, Trump getting his metadata and using the information to get elected amongst many other things. I forgot Cambridge Analytica, that whole thing. I'm not trying to we got to look things at a pragmatic way. We have to try to be centrist, and it's really easy to get pulled to the left or to the right sometimes, especially when we start talking about, my body, my choice, or, we start talking about all these divisive things. So we got commercial break coming up. You guys are listening to the Rundown Live. Don't go anywhere. We need your help and support. Share, drop comments in the chat. I appreciate all points of view, whether they're left, right, or centrist. I'm telling you, we're here. We're normal people just like you. We'll be back in just a few.
Looks innocent enough, doesn't it? Lots of young people play cornhole in the park. Seems like a good place to toss a bag around. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they're too friendly. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. Let's take the case of Ronald Farber. Ronald played cornhole all afternoon, and he didn't feel like throwing bags alone, so he decided to ask another boy. He'd done it 100 times before. He didn't think anything was unusual when the boy struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Ronald didn't know was that Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like swine flu, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a conspiracy theorist, a paranoid person with a desperate need to feel they have a special knowledge that somehow sets them apart from the masses. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful. If they are too open-minded, if they question the official versions of the facts, and if they don't trust the United States government. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. He may appear normal.
It's no secret that the independent media is held to a much higher standard than the lamestream media. When's the last time that you've seen the New York Times get a 30-day ban for lying about weapons of mass destruction? Or how about the Independent getting a 7-day suspension on YouTube for claiming that everyone that Kyle Rittenhouse shot was African American? The truth is you don't, because they get away with it. We don't. We're independents. And what separates us from the lamestream media is that we are 100% funded by you. That's right. We're your radio program. We're your station, and we're open to everyone. We're interested in hearing all the topics, all the sides, because that's kind of like how science works, right? You take in all the data, you decide what is correct and what is not, but it doesn't censor information, because then you can't make great decisions to feed your brain. We need your help here on therundownlive.com. Support us by heading over to our website and checking out our brand new swag. We have hot and sexy, all-seeing eye UFO pyramid boombox t-shirts. That's right, check them out. They're great, and there's no better way to support us than picking up some swag to spread the word about liberty and freedom and the ability to choose what is real and what is not for yourself, not some ministry of truth. Check us out, therundownlive.com. Pick up a t-shirt today. Again, that's therundownlive.com. Hit our store link and go shop, pick something up, support us.
Oil and slave labor. These two wonderful industries make modern life a breeze. And what this fine little filly doesn't realize is that her chic accessories and stunning appearance come from oil and slave labor.
Huh?
That's right, classy lassie. Everything from your thong to your nail polish, your smartphone to your eyelashes come from oil and slave labor. Your top from Uzbekistan. Shorts from China. Jewelry from Indonesia. And your iPhone from Taiwan.
Oh no, not my iPhone!
Steve Jobs may have been a genius, but he couldn't work like a 5-year-old Asian boy can. Even your brawn panties from Bangladesh. Whoa there! Looks like science can go no further. Except for these silicone beauties from DuPont.
Hey.
Oil and slave labor, making the Western world beautiful.
And we're back from commercial break on KGRA DB Band.video. We are live everywhere where podcasts are found. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher. We currently have video live on Rockfin. Our Rockfin is off the hook. As you know, I see people are in the chat left and right. Want to shout out to everyone in the chat. We got, Casey, we got Oski, what's going on? Iferian, how you doing? Stuart, Hotley, Charles, and then a whole bunch more. We got Bobby and Andy. How are you guys all doing? Drop us some comments in the chat. I see people are getting vocal, and you might not be able to see all the chats, but we do. And we can put them up on the screen like this one. It says, Free Assange. I don't disagree with that. We got this one that says, tee-hee, if y'all think he was unaware of the secret FBI raid, you're sniffing glue. And I don't disagree with that. He probably did. And so I'm pretty sure that who knows, maybe they got nothing, absolutely nothing. And so my big question is, what is in these classified documents that they raided Donald Trump's house for? Does anyone know really what they pertain to? All we know is that they are classified. And if they're classified, doesn't the president have the right to have them or to watch them or look at them or whatever?
Right. That's one of the big questions that I had, and I couldn't really find anything in any of these mainstream crack journalists that are so darn good at their jobs. I didn't see anything. Actually, I mean, that's not to say that's not out there. It's just from my research, I couldn't find anything. I looked through a few different articles, and I didn't see anything giving any specific details about exactly what these documents pertain to. So, who knows? But that's the big question, and I think it's a really good question to ask, because I think it's sort of that in and of itself would shed some light on exactly, what some motivations behind this might be, is, exactly why. Of course, there's just the motivation of, he had classified documents. Okay, whatever. That he's a former president. I'm sure Bush and Obama and Clinton, I'm sure they all took, hell, Hillary took furniture from the friggin' White House.
Well, that's the Clintons. They're the mafia state there, the global, as I remember watching this video at Davos where George Soros was there, and they asked him about Donald Trump, and he's like, he's for the people. He's the people's president, and he's not for the open society. By open society, I mean global mafia state. And you think I'm making this up? Go look it up. And I'm not trying to tell you that he's a boogeyman, but he is a freaking globalist boogeyman. Like, he's terrifying. He's right up there with the Kissinger of death and the Rockefellers and, everyone else out there, the Bushes and Gates and, the Faucis of the world that think they can dictate everything to you. But here, this is
the fact. I'm sorry. Just the fact that he's able to openly refer to it as the global mafia state and just be brazen about it should show people the mindset of these people. They're not afraid to admit exactly what they're doing. You just have to look for it because the mainstream press isn't going to tell you about it.
No, but if you talk about it, they'll ban you. Or you'll get sued, or whatever. Somebody's feelings will be hurt, and then they're going to come and get $49 million from you. But we're going to dive into that a little bit later. But here, this is what the New York Post has to say, and the Post is meh. It's like every other mainstream media out there, but it's interesting. The court authorized a search of former Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate is another unmistakable signal that the Justice Department is trying to build a criminal case against him arising out of the Capitol riot. Ostensibly, the search relates to a long simmering dispute between the former president and the government over Trump's potentially illegal retention and mishandling of classified information. But don't be deceived. National Archives officials alerted the Justice Department months ago regarding missing records and possible classified information violations. That owes to the chaotic atmosphere in which Trump family decamped in Florida from the White House following the Capitol riot. With impeachment proceedings and even talk of removing Trump from office under the 25th Amendment then under the way, reportedly about 15 boxes of records were removed from the White House and shipped to Mar-a-Lago. The National Archives subsequently explained that much of the material should have been kept in the government's possession pursuant to the Presidential Records Act. After extensive negotiations, Trump agreed to return some of the materials on January 2022. Upon receipt, National Archive officials advised the Justice Department that the return materials included classified information. So it is about some of it probably classified documents.
Right. And one of the big points that I wanted to point out, it goes right back to my little, mini rant earlier. The fact that they knew this information months ago, the fact that this has been a thing, what did they say, 14 months, and they're only just now getting around to rating. If you don't think, whoever thinks that this wasn't precisely timed for the midterms, like I explained, you're kidding yourself. This was a very specifically timed and coordinated event, again, to reinforce the false dichotomy of both sides. It's all shenanigans, folks.
Yeah, the Democrats and the Republicrats, or whatever you want to call them, the gangs are gonna take it out, and you guys better straddle in, because this is gonna be nonstop chaos in America. I'm telling you, once the other gang gets in, the red gang, the one that wears the red colors and the blue colors. By the way, how did they get their colors of red and blue? Do you know how? How when you watch the media? See, I do. And that's a rhetorical question. It's because the media has decided in the 70s during elections to give one color and one another. And obviously red is a negative notation, and obviously blue is a different notation. And, this makes you think that way. But my question is what was the classified documents about? The 15 cases, and was he not allowed to have them? And so he must have known a long time they were coming for him. So I highly doubt that there's going to be anything significant in these documents. It's going to be a nothing burger, or they're going to come back and say they didn't find anything at all. And that's what we're going to have to deal with. And not only that, what we're going to see tonight, like I mentioned to you before the show, I invited some of the lieutenant governors who are running in Wisconsin to come on the show. And it seemed like everybody wanted to get on the program today. And I said, forget it. This is breaking news. Today's, we're going to find out what's going to happen today anyways. We got a lot of stuff to cover. And this is the most important stuff right here, is helping you guys understand that this is going to be used to divide our nation even further. Remember when Biden took office and you said, we're going to mend and we need to come together peacefully, and I'm going to bring this nation together? Well, good job, Joel. I wonder, do you ever wonder who ties his shoes at night? Not that, I wonder who tied Donald Trump's shoes too. He used to be a big guy. Looks like he's losing some weight. You kind of got it when you get old. But here's somebody in the chat.
Plus, I mean, just the stress of being president. I mean, Obama, Bush, they all lost weight. I mean, we talk crap about the presidents and whatnot, but one thing I will say, I wouldn't want the amount of stress that they got to deal with.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not only that, you go into office and you think that you're in charge, like what was it, Russia said, Vladimir Putin, and then once you get there, you find out that you're not really in charge. Like Barack Obama used to say, he takes his phone calls. He goes, I take my phone calls from Henry Kissinger every morning. Who's long, like 99 years old, still rolling in. He's like on some floating device going into Bilderberg, like a little alien UFO, landing. And then he goes, we must take over the world. And Trump and Jones must be stopped. We need to get rid of cryptocurrency and unify one world central banking currency. You know, he wrote a book on artificial intelligence just recently, The Kissinger of Death Dare. Did you know that?
I didn't actually. What does he have to say?
I picked it up. Well, we're going to go over that a different day, but that's definitely a show we need to dive into. Definitely. But the idea here is that there's a global elite and they're pinning these two parties against each other so that eventually, which what Glenn Zarmanov so honestly and accurately predicted, there's probably going to be nothing that we can do to prevent the New World Order. This ideology of ultra leftism in a world where pedophilia is considered, a sexual orientation, and it's a hate crime to talk poorly about people of that nature, amongst many other things. And all these crimes are going to be, made normal. They're even pushing, like we talked about, nonstop over the last couple years, cannibalism, And what's weird is I used to listen to this guy, right? This guy, he used to have this ham radio show. It was called Hour of the Time, and his name was William Cooper. And he used to talk about the mystery religion. And the mystery religion came about, some believe, like Manly P. Hall, like Atlantis, and other people in chant are like, he's Illuminati, 33rd degree. Maybe, perhaps, but that should give it more credibility, if anything. But it really stems back to Babylon. And there was this queen, Semiramis, who wanted to get people in line. And Nimrod, who was the king, Noah's great-grandson, he was also known as the first king to wear a crown, which represented the sun and the rays around him, right? So they wanted to scare their people so much to believe and step in line and fear them. They installed things like cannibalism. In fact, the etymology of cannibal is Babylonian priest. Baal as fire, sun worship. It's still Nimrod, because Nimrod allegedly was the first sun deity. And if you look in Albert Mackey's encyclopedia on Freemasonry, it says that he was the founder of the craft of Freemasonry. So not only do you get cannibalism, you're going to get people who are talking about human sacrifice. And so why is it that they're now pushing cannibalism? Like let's take the conspiracy stuff of the old world order, because that's why the New World Order slain, because Nimrod ran the old world order. He unified the world in prehistoric times. Why is it that they're pushing cannibalism? Do they really believe that it can combat climate change? Because that is what they're saying. And are we at the point where we're going to have so scarce food that we have to revert to eating one another? Like, Don, you look tasty, but I don't think I could take a bite out of you. Like, get over here, Donnie boy. We're gonna bite you up and eat you up. And get some. We'll feed you to some leftists. We'll just, whatever.
I think that one of the big reasons that they're pushing cannibalism is it sort of plays into the whole agenda of dehumanization. That's really how you push a lot of these agendas, a lot of these low frequency. Because I love that little clip that we had in the very beginning in our little TV sucks segments that we do. The guy talking about vibrations and positive vibes and energy and motion and all that sort of stuff, and how you have your frequencies from your heart and whatnot, because that is on a baser level. Now, we could probably get into this in more in depth in like a Freaky Friday episode or something, but like that's something people have to understand is we're all energetic beings. Everything that exists on a basis of energy, vibration, and frequency. Even Nikola Tesla talked about that. So the fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, like I was saying, everything exists on the basis of energy, vibration, and frequency. Nikola Tesla talked about it. It's a 100% fact as far as physics is concerned. And the ruling class know this. And that's why everything has to be kept at a low vibrational frequency. That's why they push negativity and chaos and divide, and specifically this agenda of dehumanization, of confusing people and making people hate themselves and each other's, because all of that is a low vibrational frequency. And when you're in a high vibrational frequency, you're able to unlock the deeper portions of your mind and the pineal gland. You're able to transcend beyond all of the false dichotomies that they create and transcend beyond all of the BS that they're constantly shoveling in our faces. So they have to keep everybody at a low vibration, which is why you, the listener and the viewer, it is your job to recognize that first of all, and then fight beyond that to transcend psychologically, consciously, to get to a higher vibrational point and with positivity and love and kindness and liberty and intelligence and truth, because that is how you really fight the New World Order.
Yeah, it reminds me of that clip that went viral of Alex Jones about where he's talking about this 2 years ago. And I've done research, and I was talking about this equally long ago, about 10 years ago, how cannibalism seems to be becoming more and more popular, even in the transhumanist movement. And how we had a transhumanist who actually made Benzion burgers. He took his own cells and made burgers out of himself, and he ate them, and with the Tabasco sauce. And he recorded himself doing it. We showed it on. Remember, we were just watching the video, and we're like, ugh. In fact, you can find it on band.video. Go to band.video and check out Synthetic Cannibals. And we did actually have a 40-minute rant, including a video of it. But speaking of, the man himself, Alex Jones, the most hated man by leftists. And obviously there's a lot of people that caved on the right because they're just, it's like basketball or baseball. They're fair weather fans, and they're not really interested in doing the research on what is true and what is not. And don't get me wrong. Everyone is no one's perfect. We all make mistakes, but a guy who genuinely wants to change the world. He means well. He wants to help people. Here it is in the news. As everyone has been told, Alex Jones is going to pay $49 million. Let me tell you a little story about true story. We told you here on the show first that that he wasn't going to pay. In fact, he probably mentioned it first, but I'm sure he's way ahead on this. U.S. conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, by the way, this is Reuters, could end up owing as little as 10% of the $45.2 million in punitive damages that the Texas jury awarded to the parents of Sandy Hook victim last week, legal experts told Reuters on Monday. A jury handed down a punitive damages verdict on Friday and awarded the parents $4.1 million in compensation damages on Thursday over a 2-week trial in Austin, Texas, where Jones' Infowar radio show and webcast is based. Jones was found last year to have defamed parents in court, obviously. While juries have broad discretion on awards, Texas law caps punitive damages at $750,000. So what was that for? Headlines, because you know what? Yeah. They don't want you to think highly of Alex Jones. You want to know who has the #1 book right now on Amazon and #9 in the world? Alex Jones does.
I didn't know he wrote a book, actually.
Yes. He just I bet if I go to Amazon, it'll be in the bestsellers right now. If you can still get it, go pick it up. Listen, if you're out there right now, Alex Jones, I'll type in Alex Jones, and here it is on the books. There it is, bestseller. Oh, in fascism. They moved it to somebody had look at that's what Amazon does. It says it's a bestseller in fascism. Did you see that? They literally
in a way, it makes sense because he's probably talking about fascism and the fascism of the Great Reset and the New World Order. So, who knows?
It was #1 under political books before when I looked at it on my phone, and now they're trying to say it's under fascism. It is #1 bestseller under fascism. Yeah. And Glenn Beck's #3, and look at they got everyone up here. Maybe I need to write a book. But
yeah, I'm gonna have to pick that up because I've been saying for years Alex needed to write a book. Now that he's finally done it, I definitely.
Well, do you think he actually wrote it, or did he have somebody else write it while he spoke to him?
I mean, maybe.
Or does everyone do like back in 1999? I got a free, when you worked for Best Buy in the computer department, they give you free software. I got one called Dragon Naturally Speaking, and you just talk and it prints out to you, and that's a lot easier than typing things out. But here,
that's how I write a lot of my articles. I don't have Dragon, but I do have this software on my computer that I downloaded because I'm a really slow typer. Because my pinkies are messed up. So that's actually how I write a lot of my articles is I use that software and just dictate what I want to say, and then I'll go in and edit it later.
So for those out there, the book is called The Great Reset and the War for the World. And I mean, that's an appropriate title. Legitimately, that's what's going on right now. And people want to keep their head in the dirt. They don't understand what the Bilderberg Group is because they only believe what they're told. They don't understand it was started out by the Nazi, Prince Bernard, a former Nazi, to further the Nazi agenda, and that people that colluded with them, like Kissinger, the Rockefellers, and I wouldn't surprise the Fords aren't involved and everything else, everyone else that funded that fascist regime. But those are the same people that are like really funding these ultra leftists because they're using them to divide and conquer this nation. So here we go. This is what it is about. The Great Reset and the War for the World is the most controversial man on earth. Undoubtedly, Alex Jones gives you a full analysis of the Great Reset, the global elite's intentional conspiracy to enslave humanity and all life on the planet. But don't worry, you'll love it, according to Klaus Schwab. I added that, by the way. If you really want to know what's happening in the world, this is one book that you must read now. Alex Jones is the most censored man on the planet, and you should ask yourself, why is that? There is a powerful authoritarian takeover. And you know what, bro? I have to pause right there. I thought leftists hate authoritarianism.
Well, that's the thing. Supposedly they do. Supposedly they do. But when you get to America's pseudo leftists, because that's the thing. Like when you look at like international leftists, because I follow a lot of media, a lot of international media.
Me too.
When you look at international leftists, and even some based here in America, so like guys like Jimmy Dore and folks like Benjamin Norton, Max Blumenthal, and when you look at more so international leftists that actually embrace the fundamental principles of leftism, versus this pseudo leftist neoliberal sort of whatever the hell they've created here in America. Like the American so-called left is so far away from like legitimate concepts of leftism. It's insane. So like when you put it on a global scale, like it's really like what's happened in America and like the way they've been able to turn this sort of authoritarian ideas and attach these labels. That's why I hate using labels like left and right, because it just reinforces the BS that they create.
Right.
But they've been able to attach this like authoritarianism to these ideologies. And it's just completely in contrast with, when you actually look at the people around the world who actually embrace leftist principles and ideologies. It
says there's a powerful authoritarian takeover and process that is seeking to capture the entire human system and turn it into an artificial factory from controlled system. We are in a war for the future of the world. And in this book, you will hear from the world's elites from their own mouths what they are planning for you and your families, and you will learn what you can do to fight it. Remember, we were given a bunch of quotes of elitists talking about invisible government, New World Order, H.G. Wells. And, if you, like, we talked about George Soros earlier at Davos going, by open society, I mean global mafia state. See, if we say any of that, it's a conspiracy and fake news. But if we play the clip, people that are still in denial, they'll still be like, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory still. So here, this is what it has to say. From central bankers to corporate billionaires and corrupted government officials, global elites have been authorizing a historic war on humanity under a transhumanist scientific dictatorship. And I can't deny that. That's the goal. Fully automated luxury communism. I ran for a presidential candidate for the Transhumanist Party because I wanted to understand, and there's good people in transhumanism, but in majority, it's a bunch of Antifa commies. Alex Jones was the first major figure to expose the World Economic Forum's agenda. He is dedicated the last 30 years of his life to studying the Great Reset, conducting tens of thousands of interviews with top-level scientists, politicians, military officials in order to reverse engineer the secrets and help awaken humanity. The Great Reset and the War of the World chronicles the history of the global elites' rise to power and reveals that they've captured the governments of the world and financed the Great Reset to pave the way for the New World Order. That's right, guys. Check it out. It's worth the read. I tell you what, I pick up leftist books. I read books on Marxism and everything else. If you're out there, pick this book up. It's #1 in just about all categories and #9 in the world right now on Amazon.com. And people don't know that, but look at 1 and 2. He's got #1 and 2 under the. If we go to political and social sciences, it's #3 right now. Why isn't it not? Why don't they put that's #3 in politics? Because it doesn't sound as good as in fascism. Neo-fascism. That's what they're talking about. New World Order BS. Yep. But that's where we're at. Alex Jones was a canary in the coal mine. The next day they go and they get Trump, or the next couple of days. This is like the top of the pyramid of independent media and the top of what I would consider the conservative pyramid. There's definitely a globalist war and agenda going on right now in the world. It is. It's getting crazy out there, guys. And what are you guys seeing? What are you guys seeing? Somebody says, oh, here goes. Alex is hated due to his Bohemian Grove infiltration in videos. Why shouldn't he be loved? He exposed a white extremist group that has 1,500 people in it. It's like a mix between the KKK, Freemason rituals amongst, and, mystery religion. And everyone's okay with it. You tell anyone else that a bunch of white politicians gather and don't allow minorities, all of a sudden everyone ultra left goes haywire and the world's crazy. But not if it's at Bohemian Grove. You can't make fun of those people, Good old George Bush and Nixon and everyone else that went there.
Right.
And it's funny.
It really reminds me of, if anyone remembers the KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov, he gave an interview, I believe, with G. Edward Griffin back in the 80s. And he was talking about how a lot of Americans are brainwashed. And he specifically mentioned when you get to a point, I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of when you get to the point where the brainwashing has taken full effect, you could take someone, you could show them evidence, you could show them documents, you could show them videos, you could take them personally to the concentration camp and show them in person what's happening, and the brainwashing is still so ingrained in their minds at that point, they will still not believe it, not until the boot comes crashing down on them personally. And so when we see so much of this going on, it really just continues to remind me of that interview.
You know what, man? You're right. And I don't think the left understands that this is meant for them too. Like, you think the FBI grabbing their emails is just the beginning? They're going to come down hard on the ultra leftist as well. In fact, it's weird. There's reports that death is up crazy wise in 2021 and 2022. Why is it that so many people are dying and major diseases are on the rise? Well, we kind of have an idea. Everyone went and got something and got a bunch of additional somethings and some more somethings and some more somethings. We'll call them Jabberwockies, whatever you want to call it. But
that experimental injection there.
I got experimental injection for y'all there.
Yeah.
You get this called truth. But the fact is they feel the same way about us. They feel that we're the misinformation. And you know what? And what's really sad to me is the people in the media, they believe and they feel sorry for us because they think that we're misinformed. Right. But we sit here and we feel exactly the same way about them. That we feel that they are misinformed. And at no point has anyone in the mainstream media ever reached out to us and said, hey, let's all sit down, let's have a round table, and let's bring all the facts together and find out what the truth really is. Not once. They just assume that they know the truth, and they don't know where we get it. I've never had anyone say, hey, man, ask me why I believe something. Have me provide expert witnesses or expert testimonies or expert information that there are real conspiracies like Operation North was an MK Ultra and Project Mockingbird and Iran Contra and Fast and Furious, and that there is a drone program. Tell me that there's not conspiracies. Obviously, the conspiracies that they believe in, they don't believe are conspiracies. Russian collusion, they don't believe that's a conspiracy. Insurrection. And no one's been charged with insurrection. I'm surprised no one sued for that and got money for having their lives ruined when it's not even an insurrection. But, they're going through with it. They're totally got the boot on the neck, and they are literally the authoritarians. And what's funny is the ultra left, those Antifa kids, they don't like the left either, the Democrats or liberalism. But, they're putting up with it, too, because they're all worried because the feds are all after them. Who works for the feds? They do. What do you think Bellingcat is, who gets the money and has half of Antifa's roster of influencers on their, payroll, and then they're guiding, sedition hunters are responsible for hunting down January 6ers. It won't be long till we're censored. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. We're going to go to commercial break, but I worry for people like Alex Jones, because if his platform does not get deplatformed, if they can't destroy it, there's another thing that they're going to do. They're either going to shut off the internet and they're going to force the internet companies to pull them down, which should be a very alarming for anyone that's on the internet and freedom of speech and has issues. Or the thing that nobody wants to talk to, he's going to get William Coopered.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, hey, we're listening to the Rundown live on KGRADB.com, band.video. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. We need your help. Support us. Check out our website. Pick up some swag, a t-shirt. We are 100% listener funded. We'll see you guys around the bend.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Now, you don't know it yet, but you are listening to History in the Making while you are listening to this show.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, yet as mortal as his own.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Censored by the mainstream media, the destroyer of fake news, and your host of the Rundown Live, Kriston T. Harris.
Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. I'm your host, Kriston T. Harris. We're here live on kgradb.com. Make sure you check out our syndication, KGRADB. You can go to the rundownlive.com and click on our link tree. You can find access there. There's a home to John B. Wells in the evening. That is the anchor here on KGRADB. Our videos are also cataloged just about everywhere videos are found. Rumble. We're live on Rockfin right now. Support us if you want. Drop us a tip on Rockfin. We need your support. We're 100% listener funded. And amongst many other things, we're live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, and anywhere where podcasts are found. We did get pulled from iTunes, though. I'm just letting everyone know. They offered to put us back up, but they want us to pay more money. So we'll see. Wow. We got to raise some more money. And if we can you do that, we'll get back on there. I want to say thank you to the people who have been picking up swag and T-shirts. We've been getting into record sales now. We're going to probably set a record if we sell 3 or 4 more shirts this week, which would be great. We need your support. We've almost run out of smalls. I have one left, amongst many other things. But guess who's been talking about the Rundown Live and Kriston T. Harris? BET. Look at this. I picked up their very own book, Mark Lamont Hill. And this is what he had to say. He made, he actually did a pretty good job on much of it, but he did happen to go and pull ultra leftist reviews by the New Yorker and the New York Times, amongst other, not New Yorker only, excuse me. and it says that the fact that I am interested in Bohemian Grove and the Bilderberg Group, two long-standing exclusive clubs composed of world leaders and power bakers that are favorite targets of anti-globalists. You know, it's funny. He doesn't mention that only white people are allowed at Bohemian Grove. You think that somebody that is so into equity and equality, that would be something he'd be like. I mean, this guy could be a really good guy. Like, I'm not saying I never talked to him. He did a pretty accurate job of cataloging things. But here it says, here a stream of the night of August 25th was later uploaded to YouTube. 1 hour, 52-minute feature film that appears with his very own tease, Kristan T. Harris on KGRA DB Independent News Show. The Rundown Live gets footage that will grip you from the beginning to the end of the video. Well, did it? Of course it did, because that's what we do here. Like you know, and it goes into my whole introduction and things with Rittenhouse. But Seen and Unseen by Mark Lamont and Todd Brewer. And by the way, I don't know where Mark Lamont got his information from, because they surely didn't ask me. Normally, when you interview and want to find things out and you're going to write a book, you contact me. And I would have went, why out of the 30 articles people wrote about me, there's 2 bad ones, the New Yorkers, and the New York Times wasn't really all that bad, although they did call me Baby Alex Jones, which I'm cool with, you know, but it was the way that they meant it. It wasn't like, oh, right. It's like, we know that we're coming for you in the future. You're on the list, on the naughty list. Oh, you know, Rundown Live. I don't care. I'm proud. I wear it like a badge of honor. I'm on that naughty list. But like, that's where it's at. Like, this is where we've gotten to, and you guys can be too, where people are writing books about you and putting you in their books. Now I'm referred to as Kristan T. He says I'm referred to as Kristan T. Crazy and wild. The things. And if you guys are out there and tuning in and didn't know, I was a witness in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and I probably had the most fully inclusive coverage of that from the day of Jacob Blake shooting up to the end of the week of the whole event. It was gripping, and I'll be uploading that to allband.video probably on the anniversary days, probably the day before, and you guys can check it out and share it. And if you guys want to know where the videos came from the Rundown Live. It's funny how people believe in guilt by association, Don. Like, because you know somebody that's done something bad, does that make you a bad person?
No, it shouldn't, but we live in this really backwards-ass society where that sort of mentality is embraced, unfortunately.
Right. And so, all that being said, we've just come back from break. We got to mention that we have Addie Ads joining us in the bottom half of this last hour today. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in Georgia. There's been some election shenanigans, I guess, that were identified, and he's going to dive into that a little bit more. That being said, we're going to talk about that more later, but I wanted to dive into some of the articles that you had, Don, and that you wanted to cover. So why don't we go ahead and do that right now, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things, because I've been following this sort of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which it's not, because of course, as we know, these bills that they put forward, the names never actually, the bills don't do what the names assert they're going to do. So let me just put this up right here. It's from the New York Post, and it's actually talking about the IRS. And it's talking about how this is going to be used to target more Americans. And so let's just, it doesn't want to scroll yet. Let me fix that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. So it's, let me get rid of this ad really quick. My apologies, folks. But yeah, so it's the Inflation Reduction Act would double IRS agents and audits. But the super rich aren't the real target. So, we always hear this from that's one of the big Democrat Party lines. It's one of the big Joe Biden lines. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to go after the super rich, and we're going to protect the middle class and the lower class.
Well, did they? Really, no, right. They went after Alex Jones.
Exactly. and that's always the talking points of these ruling class oligarchs and aristocrats, is they always pretend like they're going to go after their own, but they never do. They always go after the middle class and the working class, because it's a class war. That's why I always talk about the false dichotomy of the left and the right, and getting neighbors to hate each other and getting people to oppose each other for stupid reasons is a really good way to make a people forget about opposing the ruling class, because that's the real issue, is classism. But it's so what's happening here with the Inflation Reduction Act, which isn't going to reduce inflation, but what it is going to do is it's going to give a crap ton of money to the IRS agents, and it's going to provide funding for up to 80,000 more agents and even more audits. So let's dive into this a little bit. It says the Manchin-Schumer Inflation Reduction Act, which could clear the Senate this weekend. It did. I guess this article came out a few days ago because it actually did pass the Senate. Now it's moving on to the House.
It was a tie, and then
Kamala Harris broke
it.
My
cousin there, we call her the black sheep of the family. She kind of went in there and she acted like a cop, and she's like, climate change, you don't believe in it? We're going to give you that. You think taxation is theft? Well, guess what? You're getting double taxes. You hate cops? Well, guess what? Double cops,
Right. Yeah. So could pass the Senate this weekend, tens of billions of dollars by adding $80 billion to the IRS budget and hiring as many as 80,000 more auditors and agents. 80,000 more, bro. And I wish
80,000, bro. I took a double take. I'm like 80,000 more people. Do you know that mean? Well, I mean, they get infinite money. They just print it at the Federal Reserve these days, and I think they give it to whoever they want to lobby, and then they walk out, with briefcases of money. That's probably what really happens with this. But that's 80,000. Like, bro, let's get jobs for the IRS. We'll just be like the authoritarians that we were meant to be. No, I mean that's the left. I'm sorry, but I don't think leftists. I mean, how do leftists feel about this? This was all packed in with other stuff, right? Gun legislation, global warming, which climate change, which is a consensus ideology. It's not even factual or that you can prove. It's something that like you have a consensus, and when consensus isn't science and science isn't consensus, if you don't understand that, then you need to go back to college there. And I didn't have to go to college to even figure that out. So if you don't understand what that is, that means that scientists or big organizations can pay scientists to do a study and say whatever they really want them to say, and then come up with some kind of algorithm to back it up. Although it's not 100% provable, it's hypothetical. And they say this is what's happening in the world. And then they lobby a bunch of politicians. And then that's how BS laws get passed about climate change. Climate change is consensus science, just like vaccination, because you can't affect or decide how you will react or anyone else will react based on a vaccine, because they all react differently. It's a variable. People should get a choice on what they put in their body. So like it's consensus, and this is essentially what the left believes in.
So it says here, the plan is estimated to double the number of Americans audited each year, which I think is absolutely insane, because there was this piece that Bloomberg put out in December of 2020, where it was talking about how summer of last year, the IRS is going to start auditing even more small businesses and regular average Americans, and they did start doing that. Now they're doing this yet again. It's absolutely insane.
Did you say small businesses, bro? Wait, I gotta stop you. Did you just say small businesses? You know how the left is always saying they want everything local, buy local, think global, but yet they're targeting these to give money to big corporatists because this will run mom and pop businesses out of business. Not only that, I bet you 100% this is going to be used to target political enemies. You know what? You own a business. Too. I'm just saying they need 80,000 more, people out there to go after. And you didn't see the right do that when the last administration, the mean tweeter was in office, did you?
No, but you did see a lot of DHS agents cracking down on free speech. So let's not pretend.
But that's a straw man argument, though. It's a completely different subject. Like we can talk about that.
It's a different subject, yes, but it's tyranny on both sides. I mean, one is going to go after, say, the Democrats, because Obama did it. Obama went after the Tea Partiers and the conservatives using the IRS, and Trump
that's what I'm talking about.
And Trump went after his political enemies with the DHS. So is it really a straw man argument, or is it just two sides of the same bird using different tactics to achieve the same means of tyranny?
That's a good point. Like, I don't disagree with that at all, that there's definitely two sides being, predatory on Americans, and Americans, as we've discussed, 100% undoubtedly are going to bear the brunt of this force of this taxation. It isn't like that we can just print up money magically. No, this is going to just be used to siphon wealth and push everyone into bankruptcy as they push towards this, what I've been warning about, the fully automated luxury communism, this Adam Weishaupt utopian agenda. You know what? You won't own anything in the future. That means a business too.
Yeah. It says small business owners and upper middle income workers will likely be the targets. The woman who runs the accounting firm for the restaurant won't have the resources to fight the government in tax court. This proposal comes a year after the IRS latest scandal, while agents illegally leaking millionaires and billionaires' private tax return data to the media. Conservatives should be especially worried while the Biden administration weaponized these tens of thousands of new agents against them, as it's done with the Justice Department and the FBI. So that's the point that you raised. Now, granted, this is from the New York Post, so of course they're conservative leaning, feeding into that false dichotomy we talk about. But it's a legitimate point because, as we said, Obama did the same thing with the conservatives and the Tea Party, just like Trump did with the DHS and any that he considered political enemies. So it's a legitimate point to see that whenever we see these two sides of the Republican oligarchy come in, they're always going to use these powers to go after whomever they see as political enemies. That's why those of us in the center and the libertarians and the anarchists and, you know, the common sense people always tell you the more power you give whoever in power, well, once they leave power and the other guy comes into power, whatever power you gave the previous administration is going to be used against you. So stop giving tyrants power.
You know what? I like that you said you used the word centurions. I think our mascot should be a centaur. The far center centaur taking on evil with his bow and arrow. But we joke a little bit, but this is serious. Like this is where we're going. This is going down like wild, insane hill. Like like this is everything that we've been seeing over the years. It's not changing. We're getting more and more of this trash coming out. And that's just the beginning of what this bill has. This bill was tied and it was pushed through and it's heading to the Senate. Or is it House of Representatives that's going to? Like, what are the chances that this actually passes?
I'm not sure, actually. It has to go through the House. Like I said, it already passed the Senate. It came to a 50-50 tie, and then Kamala Harris broke the tie. So it still has to go to the House. I'm not sure exactly what the support is for it there. So it could die in the House or it could be passed. We're not exactly sure, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because if it's anything that American politicians love on both sides of the aisle, it's two things, and it's waging war and taking more of our money. And this is going to give them the opportunity to not only take more of our money, but also, with the more so agents that they're going to put in there, it's also going to give them an opportunity to, in some capacity, wage a war against their political opponents. So it's definitely seems like it's up the aisle for either side, and so I'm not exactly sure which way it could pass.
Yeah, did you know that the Bloomberg wrote an article? I think this is way back from 2020, November 17th. It says IRS plans a 50% ramp up in audits of small businesses next year. So
yeah, that's the one that I mentioned. I actually have that pulled up too.
and it's like, that's where we're going, and it's going to be weaponized politically. And it's one thing if they evenly went, like if you owe the government money, right? First of all, there's a lot of people that believe taxation is theft. There's a lot of loopholes, but it's not like they're going after the big corporatists. They're not going over, Bill Gates farms or, these elitists, because that's what they swore that they would do. That, the rich and wealthy will pay more. Well, no, sorry, we're going to shut down the middle class business. What do you think the whole COVID-19 shutdowns were about?
Exactly.
Destroying the middle class and siphoning wealth to the oligarchy, which is exactly what we saw. Amazon, huge business because of COVID.
Hundreds of more billionaires were created because of the lockdowns, siphoning the wealth away from the working class and obliterating small businesses and funneling it to the corporations like Amazon, Walmart, and all these other big corporations, and even the social media guys, because of course you're locked down, you can't do much. So what are you going to do? You're going to be on Facebook all day. So Zuckerberg got a crap ton more money, Bezos, Gates, and it's created hundreds of more billionaires. So it's just an absolute economic play for the ruling class, just like I've talked about from the beginning, essentially.
Right. And that's where we're going. You know what I miss? I miss taking phone calls. We got to get back to that soon. Well, hopefully one of these days soon, we'll have a phone system up and working here at KGRA again. Unfortunately. But gas prices are down. I mean, that's really what everyone's concerned about. And it's a surprise, today's primary day, and gas prices have hit under $4 for the first time. So, how much you want to bet, like as soon as the election's over, these prices are going to go up. So other things,
I actually saw my brother. He shared a post the other day, and it was really poignant. It said, talking about how gas prices are down 20%, and it says no, they're still up by $2. They're just telling you, celebrate the 20%. It's down by 20 cents, but it's still up by $2. But that's how they get you. That's how they get people to vote for them.
Well, right. It's all the math. It's like unemployment's way down. No, it's not.
Right.
You're right. You laid off the entire world, and unemployment is way up and still up. People are still looking for jobs. But here it is. U.S. gas prices fall below $4 per gallon. We like to show you everything we talk about on the screen, so you know where we get it from, and you can check the information. This is gasbuddy.com. And, okay, I got to ask you, knowing all this, everything that's happened over the weekend, let's make some ideas here, like predictions. What do you think for sure, undeniably, is going to happen in the future? Do you think that with all this that's going on, the ramming through of bills, right? We have Donald Trump, FBI SWAT raid, which I guarantee you he knew was happening or is going to happen. So if there's any incriminating evidence, that's his own fault. It's funny. They didn't raid Hillary Clinton, which is interesting. Right. They should have,
We mentioned that during the our Free Thought Project article today, which after you make your point, I'd love to bring that up too, because it draws a great.
Yeah, pull it up while we're talking about this. Yeah, so Hillary Clinton didn't get raided. Bill Gates's all his computers didn't get raided when they found pedophilia photographs on there. And in fact, the only thing you hear about that kind of stuff is that Alex Jones had a computer with pedo stuff on it, and it was never open. It was sent to him as spam, and the FBI found it, and it was never open. It was exactly basically there to try to incriminate him. And it's so crazy how there's so much misinformation across the world. And why is it that, let's say, Donald Trump is getting held to a different standard than Hillary Clinton? Because shouldn't they both, let's be honest, Trump could be in jail, Obama could be in jail for Fast and Furious, Hillary could be we could just go on. Well, okay.
Yeah. Even beyond that, you have Fast and Furious, you have the things that George Bush did, you have Clinton. We know Bill Clinton is a friggin' rapist. And even beyond that, that's the bare minimum. Then take into account all of these people, Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton, they're all war criminals. They're all guilty of heinous crimes against humanity committed in America's imperialist wars and wars of aggression. So every single one of them belongs in prison, and yet we don't, because I guarantee nothing's going to come out of the Trump raid. Nothing. I think you mentioned that earlier. But we don't see, these people actually face consequences, and that's why when I was talking about earlier, I said this is nothing but a smoke show, because they know nothing's going to happen to this guy. So it's going to be more of these. It's just smoke and mirrors, because it's midterm season. You got to get people riled up. You've got to give them something to cling to and say, "Oh my God, my party has to win."
That's the other thing. And how much of this is to deter Trump from running? By the way, in the chat in Rockfin, we got a bunch of people. Hash Rebel, what's going on? XOXOOZ, how you doing over there? People over there are watching and listening to the show. And somebody had this to say, basically, who wants to be I'm wrong? I don't bet, just a phrase. That's my prediction. A lot of people are going to be sheeple, and they're going to sit back and we always talk about this. And how could World War II and Nazism come to a rise? Well, good people did absolutely nothing. And that's what we're seeing. And it doesn't make that one administration is better than another. No, it's one continuation. Even though that the ship, this is essentially what happened. We're all on the Titanic, right? Follow me here for a second. What we did is we changed to a captain on the ship that slowed down the inevitable of the iceberg, right? And then we got somebody back on. It's full steam ahead ×2. We got to make up ground. And we're just going back and forth. We're eventually going to hit the iceberg. And I'm telling you that there's going to be a point when Americans who are becoming sheeple, they're becoming complacent, are going to have enough. And it's going to, and now I'm starting to think maybe these ideas of concentration camps and re-education camps, they're legitimate. Like, I'm starting to think that Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory, FEMA camp, all that is made for people that don't agree with whatever the current administration is politically, because that's where we're going. That's the extreme. The left has gotten so extreme. That's what I think is going on. And we got to fight it. And the problem is it's in majority only conservatives that are listening to this ideology, which is obvious that they have FEMA camps now. They used to deny that they existed. That's a real conspiracy. And now we've gotten Project Veritas videos of Bernie Sanders supporters saying, they need re-education camps. Hillary Clinton, re-education camps. You got to get that social credit score up, or you're going to have to pay to have some agency to give you a boost in order to avoid going to your social re-engineering camp. But that's where we're going with all this hysteria. And it's wild. It's wild, and it's crazy to me that this has become exactly like George Orwell's 1984 and this Ministry of Truth, amongst many other things, to go after disinformation, which is really the number one provocateur of misinformation and disinformation is the United States government, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one more thing I wanted to touch on right before we go to break, because I know we have Addie coming around, supposed to be coming around after the break. So I'm going to give the cliff notes for this Free Thought Project piece. But basically what it goes over is this explaining the hypocrisy of the way that the FBI is really being used for these sort of Bolshevik style tactics. Because, as the title says, the same FBI that just raided Trump ignored hundreds of child rape victims and warnings of mass shooters. And essentially what the great Matt Agarist, our editor-in-chief, goes into is talking about how, prior to the Parkland shooting, the FBI had warnings that Nicholas Cruz was going to commit the atrocity that he committed, and they continued to do nothing. They got multiple warnings, and it's not even the first one. There were multiple warnings and multiple, threats of shooters, that the FBI has completely ignored. And then with the Larry Nassar case, this guy was a prolific child abuser, and the FBI knew about it. And the thing is, they were utilizing him as sort of a CI, if I remember the Nassar case correctly. And so they knew that Larry Nassar was abusing all of these girls. And these complaints were filed with the top gymnastics organizations in the United States, because that's what he was. He was like a huge gymnastics coach. So all these complaints were filed, and all of these victims came forward, and the FBI knew about it, and they did nothing. So that's sort of the whole point that the article goes into, is sort of just acknowledging the fact that, while the FBI loves to sort of play up, foot soldier for the partisanship, for these smoke and mirrors shenanigans, they ignore actual crimes. They allow mass shootings to happen, and they allow child predators to commit horrible acts of just absolutely heinous crimes against children. So, I think the main point here should be abolish the FBI. But let's just, do you have something to say?
Yeah, no, I just think this ties in, because we're running up to commercial break here real quick. This ties in with this story, because this is exactly what you're talking about. Uvalde mayor says he fears cover up of deadly school shootings. My concern and question is he going to be taken to court for $49 million like Alex Jones? Because, this is a harmful thing to say that there's a Uvalde cover up going on, dangerous conversation there. And this is Axios, who just got bought for $500 million. They got money to give away. So, maybe they'll give it sued next. Who knows? Probably not. The mainstream media is held to a way different standard than what we are held to. And that is the truth. And it's wild, bro. But we have a couple of minutes here, and what you're talking about is spot on, right? It's spot on that we got oligarchy that can get away with everything. And at some point, one of them decided to weaponize first. And then the next term, that group decided to weaponize in a different way. What we're going to get into next with Addie Ads. Addie Ads has brought some interesting evidence. I say evidence because it proves that there's something not right about the Georgia election, at least for tallying and votes in the recount, I believe, from my understanding. And he's going to be joining us to speak and talk about all this on the second half. So don't go anywhere. Addie Ads is joining us. He was there with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and when I was there every day. We went and saw the Statue of Liberty and hung out, and I got to meet him. Great kid. Otherwise, he wouldn't be joining us today. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Addie Ads.
Looks innocent enough, doesn't it? Lots of young people play cornhole in the park. Seems like a good place to toss a bag around. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they're too friendly. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. Let's take the case of Ronald Farber. Ronald played cornhole all afternoon, and he didn't feel like throwing bags alone, so he decided to ask another boy. He'd done it 100 times before. He didn't think anything was unusual when the boy struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Ronald didn't know was that Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like swine flu, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a conspiracy theorist, a paranoid person with a desperate need to feel they have a special knowledge that somehow sets them apart from the masses. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful. If they are too open-minded, if they question the official versions of the facts, and if they don't trust the United States government. One never knows when the conspiracy theorist is about. He may appear normal.
It's no secret that the independent media is held to a much higher standard than the lamestream media. When's the last time that you've seen the New York Times get a 30-day ban for lying about weapons of mass destruction? Or how about the Independent getting a 7-day suspension on YouTube for claiming that everyone that Kyle Rittenhouse shot was African American? The truth is you don't, because they get away with it. We don't. We're independents. And what separates us from the lamestream media is that we are 100% funded by you. That's right. We're your radio program. We're your station. And we're open to everyone. We're interested in hearing all the topics, all the sides, because that's kind of like how science works, right? You take in all the data, you decide what is correct and what is not, but it doesn't censor information because then you can't make great decisions to feed your brain. We need your help here on therundownlive.com. Support us by heading over to our website and checking out our brand new swag. We have hot and sexy, all-seeing eye UFO pyramid boombox t-shirts. That's right, check them out. They're great, and there's no better way to support us than picking up some swag to spread the word about liberty and freedom and the ability to choose what is real and what is not for yourself, not some ministry of truth. Check us out, therundownlive.com. Pick up a t-shirt today. Again, that's therundownlive.com. Hit our store link and go shop, pick something up, support us.
Oil and slave labor. These two wonderful industries make modern life a breeze. And what this fine little filly doesn't realize is that her chic accessories and stunning appearance come from oil and slave labor.
Huh?
That's right, classy lassie. Everything from your thong to your nail polish, your smartphone to your eyelashes come from oil and slave labor. Your top from Uzbekistan. Shorts from China. Jewelry from Indonesia. And your iPhone from Taiwan.
Oh no, not my iPhone!
Steve Jobs may have been a genius, but he couldn't work like a 5-year-old Asian boy can. Even your brawn panties from Bangladesh. Whoa there! Looks like science can go no further. Except for these silicone beauties from DuPont. Oil and slave labor, making the Western world beautiful.
Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. You're here with our co-host Don Vi Jr. live on KGRA-DB, your home to information, one of the world's largest independent digital broadcasts. We're also cataloged on band.video. Make sure you check this out, band.video. We have videos going up there amongst many other things. We need your support. We're 100% listener funded, right? We're funded by you guys. And go to the rundownlive.com, pick up a t-shirt. You can donate. A lot of people donated during the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. It's expensive to keep us going, but there's a lot of people out there that need your support. Also want to plug the Great Reset book by Alex Jones. Go pick that up. I picked up a autographed and unautographed copy. Thanks to the guys over at InfoWars for that. Appreciate you guys. for hooking that up and everything that's going on. And before we get to Addie, I wanted to talk real briefly for about 2 minutes on this right here, and I'm going to add it to the screen. And that is, I don't know if you know this, but they're working hard to create what's called a brain cloud interface. And what was interesting to me about this transhumanist research, just as catalog, is basically the fact that Kurzweil Technologies is involved, Nano Apps is involved, money, neurosurgery is involved. But we know that Ray Kurzweil was like, everyone going to have nanobots farting in the brain in 10 years. Like, where are the nanobots coming from? And essentially the idea is that you will be able to use the nanobots in your body to wirelessly communicate with a brain cloud interface. Imagine an internet of things, right? And here it says the internet companies, and this is a paper created, and this is a hypothesis and theory article in which the basis of the technology is on. And the internet compromises of decentralized global system that serves as humanity's collective effort to generate, process, and store data, most of which is handled by a rapidly expanding cloud. A stable, secure, real-time system may allow for interfacing the cloud with the human brain. That's right. You'll be able to, like this is straight out of science fiction, where you'll be walking around, they'll be uploading your data to a cloud, and then they'll be able to download it into a meat suit, which they're ready to be able to make DNA storage devices. So you know what? They'll just clone you a new body and you'll never die. You hear about those ancients that live forever. They have like long lives. Who knows what kind of technology they had? They could definitely build pyramids. We can't do that now. At least we haven't. We've been pretty lazy. In fact, we're a pretty lazy society overall within aspects of building things, and like the pyramids that are going to last forever. But one promising strategy for enabling such a system, they claim, is called a human brain cloud interface. Your brain going to connect to the cloud, brain cloud, like Joe against the volcano. He's like, brain cloud. I knew it. And would be base technology referred to as neural nano robotics. So neural nano robotics will communicate with your brain cloud interface, so you can download languages, you can learn how to speak things. You're in Germany, you can download the app right to your brain and learn how to speak German. And, you know, it's pretty creepy and crazy and wild out there, but, you know, that's where we're heading. Brain cloud interfaces. And I want to we'll dive more into this in tomorrow's show. There's a lot to go cover tomorrow, and we'll probably be some updates on the elections amongst everything. I know Dr. David King and some of the people that we've had on this program who are running for lieutenant governor have their primaries tonight. Shout out to Dr. David King, great candidate for lieutenant governor out of Milwaukee, and we'll see what happens there. But on the subject of elections, right? There's no doubt that half the nation and even a large amount of liberal voters believe that the 2020 election in some shape or form was rigged. And I use the term rigged because we can, beyond a shadow of doubt, prove that by just pointing at things like the Green Party be taken off ballots in like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, you know, swing states where 10,000 votes would make a difference. And in Wisconsin, Green Party typically gets 20 to 30,000 votes, and that would have been enough to switch this state over to one orange man. And I'm sure in Pennsylvania, I'm pretty surprised based on the turnout of the events there as well. And in Georgia, there was a lot going on. And I know that the Addie Ads has been really on and investigating the idea of voter fraud. We talked about 2,000 mules, which was basically a big nothing burger, right? 2,000 mules, obviously they blurred everything out. It wouldn't stand up in court. They didn't name names of stash houses, obviously because they're worried about being sued. And if they think that they won't win in court, that's all that really matters. You know, it's not anything other than rallying the troops. Rallying the troops for who? Donald Trump, who is probably going to run for president until who knows what happened yesterday might prevent him from running. I'm not quite sure. But we got Addie Ads joining us straight from Georgia to talk about his new Substack article. Welcome to the broadcast, Addie Ads. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris, Don, and Don. It's great to see you guys. It's great to be back on the show. It's been a while, and I am covering Georgia full time now, so that's great. I broke this story recently, which I think we want to cover. It was an email sent from Brad Raffensperger's office, Secretary of State of Georgia, via his attorney, Ryan Germany. And this is the first time that they've admitted on paper on record that mistakes were made in the audit of the 2020 election in Fulton County, Georgia. And the exact quote is, as part of the allegations that you made, our investigators looked at the alleged violations and found that Fulton did make mistakes in their audit counting and reporting. Those are what have been referred to the AG's office, the AG being Attorney General Chris Carr, who I actually confronted in Marietta, Georgia, earlier this year when I was covering the primaries on the bus tour. He skirted away from me very quickly. But this report is based on the research of two very good researchers, election integrity analysts, and really citizen reporters in a way. Joe Rossi has really been the one who's spearheading it. He's a chemical engineer by training. He's a former PepsiCo executive, and he teaches a variety of classes. This
I think we're losing connection with Addy over here. You must be using that Wi-Fi there. See, Don, I told you you shouldn't have given them your Wi-Fi.
Can you
Yeah,
guys
Addy,
hear me?
no, we missed you completely for the last 20, 25 seconds. You're cutting in and out.
Oh, let me try.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Go try to do something if you can. We'll go over this while you're doing that. Brad Raffensperger admits Fulton County made mistakes in 2020 election count, unredacted. So, first of all, I didn't know that the recount had issues with it, and people were worried about the integrity of the recount there, Don. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've been talking to Addy about it for at least a couple. Well, I've been talking to him about it for a couple weeks now, but I've been following his reporting somewhat loosely. Probably not as close as I should, but everybody's incredibly busy. But I've been seeing his reporting on the matter, and that's essentially what he's been focused on as of late. Is the recounts and the election audit of it is also seemingly had to have had some sort of tomfoolery and shenanigans going on. And so essentially that is the basis of the article. And it seems as though we have Addy back with us now so he can dive into it further.
Tomfoolery. Addy, so first of all, I asked Don, and so there was a recount, right, in Georgia. And, like, I didn't realize that there were issues with the recount. Like, there was questions. I've been pretty much avoiding this topic like the plague for the most part, just because we haven't had anything. Everything I've looked into has not been substantial. We can point to certain rigging aspects, like the Green Party getting pulled out of the ballots in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, amongst other things, where obviously they had the right to be on the ballot. And obviously those votes most likely went to one certain candidate versus another. But so explain the history of this for the listeners that may not know what's going on in Georgia. I know that Alex Jones was down there, and I saw in his documentary Alex's War, which I encourage everyone to take a look at if they really want to know who Alex Jones is, or at least who he thinks he is, and the independent media or the person who recorded it thinks he is. Go take a look at it. But what is this? What's going on here in Georgia?
Yeah. So this is actually a part two of an investigative series that really has formulated organically. And the first one was a report I did with Joe Rossi and Emerald Robinson and Kevin Monkla the week of the primary election this year, May 24th. And that was something called the Batches Loaded Report. And what happened there was there were tabulator tapes, pull tapes, which basically kind of spits out a receipt for the ballots in a way at the end of the day. Just it shows what happens. It's not worth anything in terms of a ballot. It's just kind of for record keeping. And it got reprinted at the behest of the Secretary of State's office. And this is on a YouTube video. It's still on YouTube. Then Fulton County Elections Director Richard Barron said that. So that's where it started. And this email from Raffensperger's attorney, Ryan Germany, came on the 29th of July. So this is very recent. So that was the Friday before last. And again, the first time that we've had an admission from the state in some way in Georgia that mistakes were indeed made. But again, it's kind of kicked the can. It's the Secretary of State defers to Fulton County, who defers to Secretary of State. Kemp's, CCing Raffensperger on emails saying, this guy Rossi, I'm paraphrasing here, he's found some substantiated mistakes and some things that probably need investigation and need some explaining, and still no statement yet from Raffensperger. So it looks like Kemp's kind of starting to put Raffensperger under the bus a bit here, as we are under 90 days until election Tuesday here in November. But any questions you have, again, it's pretty in depth. It's unredacted. The entire 84-page state election board complaint is there. All the emails are there. Emerald Robinson posted it, I think, on the 3rd. She just did a quick kind of intelligence of the email that showed that. She redacted her documents. I did not redact anything at all, and I posted everything. And I'm actually going to reach out to Raffensperger today or tomorrow and see what's going on there. But I got to say, guys, nobody in the state of Georgia wants to touch this, as far as I can tell. The only people who are touching it are citizen journalists. So, my article is actually the one being referred to right now by outlets that are starting to pick it up. So I'm just, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping this turns into something big. We got a hashtag Raffygate, hashtag Peach State Gate. I don't know. We're voting on what that should be. But I got Rossi's quotes in here. I got Rossi, his attorney Jack James's quote in there about getting a call from the AG's office, basically asking them to leave this alone. And again, I'm paraphrasing there, but you can see the quotes in there. And you also have the Secretary of State deferring to Fulton County when the Constitution of the state of Georgia says the Secretary of State is the state's chief election official. So it's quite amazing, this story. Garland Favorito, he opined on this. He's kind of been leading the charge in a big way with Voter GA, and that Voter GA has made it to the Gateway Pundit countless times. Buckhead City Movement leader Bill White, immigration law activist D.A. King, the chairwoman of the DeKalb County Republican Party, Marcy McCarthy, also made some statements as well. And so this is big, people, because we've been called crazy, we've been called cheaters, sore losers, we've been called conspiracy theorists. This is Bradley Raffensperger, de jure chief of elections for the state of Georgia, admitting mistakes were made in 2020, folks.
So, okay, here it says, in response to the state election board complaint made by Georgia College professor Ryan Germany, attorney for Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger revealed that Fulton County made errors in the audit of 2020 presidential election. Quote, as part of the allegations that you made, our investigators looked at the alleged violations and found that Fulton did make mistakes in their audit counting reporting. Those are what have been referred to the AG's office, Germany said in a July 29th email response to former PepsiCo executive and current Georgia Technical College professor Joe Rossi. And so my question is what kind of errors were found? Now let's dive into this. What was it exactly that was like discrepancies, and what was it, like voter count? Are there missing votes? Here it says, what is clear is that the recount was supposed to confirm the reported vote totals from the election night, and it could not. As a result, votes were simply added onto the batches as discovered to make up the difference. Sometimes the same ballots appear to have been added in two places, with the additional 20,713 votes counted from unidentified tabulators that had already been added to the initial count. There is no paper documentation of the ballots for nearly 42,000 votes. So how many votes are unaccounted for? Like, exactly. And do we really know which way they would go? Like, would it be right or left? All we know is that the election system is flawed. And this whole time we've been told, no, it's perfect. It's impossible to make mistakes. And this, 21,000 votes on the recount, that's quite a bit of a discrepancy. And I don't know what the difference was. I know it was close. And there's the infamous Donald Trump conversation, with Georgia that was revealed. Obviously, with all this starting to come out, what does this really tell us?
Yeah, that was the famous leaked phone call with Raffensperger. It tells us that, people's, I think, suspicions are validated. And we don't have conclusive evidence for what exactly happened, and it's been contended that we may never know exactly what happened in the 2020 election. And this is kind of, I'm just speaking on my own here. Part of the nature of the way software is, it is, I've been told by one anonymous software expert, it's mercurial. And I kind of gleaned from that it's very easy to change something and basically make something disappear with software, such as the Dominion voting system. But the like Wisconsin, our home state, Kriston, very close in Georgia, is I think 11,000, 12,000 votes. So the missing votes there. Almost double there, but let me quote here. These are the two principal problems they found: irregularities in the recount that led to the addition of 16,382 votes to the batches loaded report of December 3rd to the certified result on December 4th, which included 3,125 duplicates and 17,852 votes of unknown provenance. The second irregularity, additional tabulator results from unreported and unidentifiable tabulators that accounted for 20,713 votes in the November 3rd totals. So I think the bottom line is this is a sufficient number to swing the election. 20,000, 17,000, 16,000. That's a huge difference in Georgia. It's been contended that the election was won there. And I can talk about Georgia all day. This AJC, it's Atlanta Journal-Constitution, I contend is just in bed with the DNC, in bed with the deep state. I'm trying to get somebody to talk about this, but it's been really tough, and really proving what happened. I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that, but proving a cover up, I think that's possible.
Well, I think rigged and cover up, and there's definitely a lot of questions, especially how things happened and the way things went down on that day. And I think that there's overall there is a large part of the nation that felt cheated. A lot of people believed the narrative in one way or another, and we don't really know. All we know is that there was a mistake in Georgia. Those 21,000 votes could have been all for Biden. They could have been all for Trump. They could have been split. We don't know. We don't know what areas, what districts are these in the predominantly conservative districts? Are these ballots from predominantly liberal districts? Are these like downtown Atlanta? Where are these ballots from? And if Georgia did swing, that wouldn't be enough to throw the election one way or another. But it would, if we can find the rhyme and reason, we can look for the similar behaviors in other states. And you mentioned pulling polls. I did that during the Ron Paul era, and we were able mathematically to be able to decide that there was some kind of rigging done. It's really easy to rig a machine. All you needed is a thumb drive, right? And let's not forget a lot of those went missing too.
That's one of the big points that I really wanted to mention is we do see this happening. We see this in Georgia. Of course, Georgia is a huge swing state. We know there was some chicanery that went on in Arizona. And, we also see this, of course, as I've mentioned multiple times. We do know, at least for a fact, to a degree, to which the 2020 election was rigged due to the Iowa caucus. Lee Camp, back when RT America was still a thing, did a fantastic job covering this. This is 100%, as well as The Intercept did. This is 100% proof that the Iowa caucus was rigged in favor of Pete Buttigieg, specifically so he could step down so Biden could secure the nomination and make sure that Sanders did not take the nomination. So we see this happening in a lot of swing states, in Iowa, in Georgia, in Arizona. And so to Kriston's point, it really does begin to raise the red flags of, well, now we know to some degree that some chicanery took place here in Georgia. We still got the investigation, obviously, is going to continue to attempt to find out at least specifically what happened, but it also raises the question of where else did it happen and to what effect did it actually affect the election?
Yeah, and people forget, you mentioned the Iowa caucus. There's a fair chunk of Trump supporters who are disenfranchised Bernie bros. And I know you guys were talking about Trump before with the FBI raid last night. Who hasn't been talking about that? But these votes, in particular in the heart of Atlanta, Fulton County. So, you had Maricopa County there in Arizona, Wayne County, which I was in briefly there in Michigan. I met up with Brandon Straka briefly, who's just at CPAC. I was just listening to him this morning a little bit. But yeah, it's something I'm really, really excited for because, like I said, this election thing is just going to get more and more crazy as time goes on. And doesn't Wisconsin has a primary today, right? Is that right or no?
Yeah, we do. And I mentioned it, that it's so convenient, the timing. It might be a warning to Trump to not run for office, amongst other things. Like, we're just switching, captains on Titanic at this point. And, I'll be like, I start to agree more and more with Glenn Zarmanoff, who wrote a very interesting book and memoir about 9/11 and the World Trade Center and how Rockefeller built it. And, Rockefeller built New York, amongst other things, and how these globalists pull strings. And he said that the smartest thing we can do is join the New World Order and try to take it out from within, which is, that's how they get us on everything, right? And it's not entirely bad. They're developing a system, but the system of control that we have control of right now allows us to have a little bit more power and structure than the globalist New World Order, Adam Weishaupt utopian, fully automated luxury communism world that they're trying to paint as a utopian world where you won't own anything and they'll own everything as they run middle-class businesses out with this new legislation that passed. But yeah, I think this Donald Trump thing is going to be a nothing burger, in my opinion. I think it's there, and I think that all the ultra leftists who are really excited about this are right up there with all the ultra right wing people who are excited about the Georgia Guidestones. They're just, they're clickbait. That's what it is. They and for people that are seasoned, that we've been here for a while, we realize that is there an opportunity? Like, listen, I was there January 6th to cover the news, and there really was no organization. It wasn't something that, if anything, it was allowed to happen. If anything, there was a conspiracy to, if things got out of hand, to make it as bad as possible. You can see that by them not having adequate coverage. They could have. Pipe bombs were dropped the day before in front of the Capitol building in Republican Democrat areas, and they could have at that point brought in more security. They didn't. They call it an insurrection when it isn't. And these people who are getting labeled insurrectionists, maybe they'll be able to sue, maybe they won't. But this is basically Bolshevik communism. They're going after all their political adversaries. And it was, I wouldn't doubt that it was a big honeypot set up by the FBI and other intelligence agencies, in the directive of Pelosi, who basically runs the Capitol Police there, right? So that being said, Addy adds, let listeners know where they can find out more. Feel free to publish this article in the Rundown Live. We'll share it. We'll get it out there and let people know what is going on with this. Thanks for this riveting information. We now know that something isn't right in Georgia. We don't know what. We don't know if it could go. We just know that on the recount that there's 17,000 missing votes.
Yeah, nothing too big. It just enough to swing the entire state.
Misplaced them there, like Dade County, and then they found out 20 years later. And this is exactly kind of the things I prophesized on, that we've seen it happen in the past, that by the time we figure out that Biden is probably not a legitimate president, based on what happened, it'll be just like George Bush wasn't a legitimate, George Bush Jr. wasn't a legitimate president. And who knows, maybe that's why Ronald Reagan got shot, is because Bush Sr. was next in line, head of the CIA, on the grounds at the JFK assassination, amongst many other things. And the Bush family already tried to overthrow the government, the whole Smedley Butler thing and the Bonus Army March in the 30s. So who's to say? They think generationally these are the globalist cabal who use the term New World Order. Addy adds, thanks for joining us. Let us know, and the listeners know, on KGRADB and band.video where they can hear your stuff.
addyads.substack.com. My newsletter is free. It's all there if people want to check it out. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/addyads. And then Twitter, I'm a fiend on Twitter. One Addyads, ONEADDY. ADDS, and that'll be up also on the Rundown Live very shortly here as well.
Are you coming back home at all? By home, I mean Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think so, Chris Don. I don't know when. I'm just kind of trying to stack my cheddar and right now.
Your cheddar, you're the Wisconsin cheese. That's what I hear.
You got a couple cheeseheads in the room, folks. So yeah, at some point, and when I do, I'll stop by and we can meet up again like we did in New York. That was really fun.
Yeah, I was glad that we could get together. I was on the People's Convoy covering that event for News to Share in Fort Fisher, and we got to meet up.
Yeah.
It was great to see you. And we have Don Vi Jr., Free Thought Project, and check out the rundownlive.com. Addie Ads, thanks for joining us. You're such a great guest, and we'll have to have you back on soon as you continue to evolve on this conversation of things that happen. We'll see you guys soon. Everyone, hang in there. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. You're listening to the rundownlive.com. Stay blessed today and pray for everyone in the United States and the world. We need change, and the change starts with you from within.